Ben, very nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us on our podcast. Everybody, this is Ben Richards, and he is the owner of Aura Architecture and Interiors, who are a London-based practice.
Thanks for having me. Yes, great to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Well, look, let's cut to the chase, basically. If you talk to us and our audience about the practice, the work that you do, and introduce yourself, please.
Cool, yeah. So my name's Ben Richards, as you mentioned. Been running Aura Architecture and Interiors now for over 7 years, actually, full time.
Okay.
My background was actually in architectural engineering. So I studied for a 4 years master's degree and then jumped ship to probably a side tangent, but I actually went and played poker for a living. So let's kind of put that to one side for now.
I want to know more about that.
When I finally got around to having a proper job, as they say, I worked for an architecture practice and structural engineering studio in Hungerford for 4 years, working on a lot of house extensions, loft conversions, new builds. Really got to learn the planning and the building regulation side of things. Inside out, basically. I was really, I think out of the hundreds of projects I did during that time, I went to visit 2 of them, to see actually how they were coming together. So I was very much front end, REBA stages 0 to 4, churning out the drawings and not really getting any construction experience or on-site visibility of what was going on. After that, went to work for the Berkeley Group. So I sort of felt like I'd sort of ticked the box in terms of learning a lot of the small stuff, and then went to work for the Berkeley Group as a technical manager on some really big schemes in central London. So we're talking 27-story towers, 955 units, mixed-use schemes, and learned a hell of a lot of how that big property developer works. But always been a passion of mine, or a want and need to start my own business and do my own thing. I found myself sort of on Rightmove looking at properties and wanted to do property development and things like that. But I also wanted to prove to myself, I guess, that I could build an architecture practice. Because when I worked for the small architecture practice that I did after the poker times, there was a lot of stuff that they weren't doing that I felt like they should be doing as business owners. Not out there networking. Why aren't you marketing, doing this, doing that? And I felt quite frustrated. So there's a bit of an ego, really, in terms of proving to myself that I could build a successful architecture practice and do things differently and the way that I want to do them.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
And so 7 years on, we're sort of a team of 15 people. We'll turn over about £1 million in revenue this year, which has grown significantly. So sort of early on, it was sort of year on year 100% growth, and as you get bigger, that sort of growth starts to slow down. But we've still grown sort of 15 to 20% over the last 2 or 3 years since sort of coming out of COVID times. And we do some incredible work. There's a lot of stuff that I see. So just probably worth taking a step back and saying that I have that architectural background. Although my degree was architectural engineering, I've worked for architects, I've worked for property developers, I've worked for structural engineers. My goal with my architecture practice was to build it to a certain size that it works without me. So over the last 7 years, I've managed to kind of become managing director, business owner, kind of entrepreneur, setting the vision of the business, where I want it to go, the types of projects that we want to work with. And I've brought in the team to deliver the operations of that business. So I've got a design and operations director called Graham, who's been with me for 3 years now. He runs and manages the day-to-day of the business. And then really my part of the part of Aura is the management accounting, the marketing, setting the vision for the team, kind of overseeing the business function. And all of the team know that we are a business that deliver architectural services, rather than it being an architectural practice that doesn't have a Scooby-Doo about business or really how to run a successful business. And I feel like that makes us internally a far better practice than a lot of other architecture practices operate, because I know, having spoken to numerous architects and practices over the last couple of years, there have been a lot of architecture practices that have gone under. One that I held in a lot of esteem, or 2 actually, I held in a lot of esteem, that I follow on Instagram, and I love the work they did. And then, 2 months ago, they filed for liquidation, and there seems to be a lot of that at the moment, whereas we seem to be as buoyant as ever. We have lots of leads coming in through our sort of organic YouTube channels and Instagram, and and the website, because we've got a really good digital footprint, which was part of my idea of how do I remove myself from the business as fast as possible. So building all of that fundamental kind of evergreen content on our website, the blogs, the Instagram profiles, that digital footprint that allows people to find us and generate leads without my input. And that was sort of where I started. So yeah, that's sort of the long history of where we are, but we now create some amazing projects. And it's super great to see things popping up on our Instagram that actually I don't have day-to-day insight of, and when it pops up and that's a cool project, who did that? Oh, it's us. It's quite surreal.
Well, that's really good. You between you and Dan, your marketing chap, have sent me to share in obviously Architecture Vogue some of the wonderful projects you've done already, and of course that's going to continue for the next 12 months and beyond. So that's really good, because we're bringing a new audience to the work that you do as well, which is exactly, it's refreshing to hear, because you do hear of some practices that don't want to promote the work that they do, or they not necessarily don't want to, but don't perhaps put the time into it. And I think that's a massive setback for them as a practice. Because why do this wonderful work for these clients and then not shout about it? It seems pointless to me. So thankfully, there are those like you that are out there, and obviously everybody that's joined Architecture Vogue so far that exactly want that to be done, because I think it's crucial.
It is. I think that the frustrating, like our team, so every week we have our weekly team meeting, and it becomes a bit of a show and tell for the team to sort of present to the wider business of what they're up to, what projects they're working on. And last week, Leo showed an incredible project in Putney. Which was, £300,000 worth of glass in this development. I mean, it looks absolutely incredible, but the clients don't want us to showcase it anywhere. So I'm seeing these photos of like amazing, like prime for, Instagram, whatever, but the clients, want to be, and we have to respect that privacy, but it's very frustrating that you spend 2 years working on this scheme and then not be able to sort of showcase it. But it is what it is. We've got other projects that we can showcase, that we are showcasing with the likes of Architecture Vogue, and we will continue to do so.
With the practice, then obviously you're trying to build your practice slightly differently from others and be, if you like, a one-stop shop. So do you have a structural engineer working for you as well, or is that all you external consultants to do that, or do you look to bring those in? What's your sort of plan?
No, that is an external consultant.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's an external consultant. We, from a structural design perspective, I have a really good insight into, how that can work and how lean you can make it. And I'm often pushing back on structural engineers to say, why aren't we doing it like X, Y, and Z? And they say, okay, maybe we could. But no, from a practice perspective, we offer architectural services. And we offer interior design services. We are ever growing, and part of my 2024-2025 targets are to really integrate more of a passive house sustainability type offering and service, which more and more people are looking for, which I think is fantastic. About 3 years ago, if you'd mentioned sustainability or air source heat pumps or air permeability to clients, they're like, oh, that sounds expensive.
Absolutely.
Don't fancy that. Whereas now we are finding a lot more clients are coming to us saying, look, we understand energy costs are so high at the moment. We want to retrofit our house for the next 15 years and reduce our energy bills because they're only going one way. So people are thinking a lot more along those lines. So part of our 2025 targets is going to be more catering to those needs, and what services can we provide to help people achieve that.
Okay, that's refreshing, for want of a better word, isn't it? That's and like you say, you're obviously doing something right, because you've got a huge pipeline of work, varied work as well. So is it mainly residential? Because you're obviously interiors practice as well, or do you get involved in some commercial work and other projects as well, or is it all residential?
So when I set up the company, so the actual company, limited company is called Aura Homes Limited. From a trading entity, we're Aura Architecture and Interiors, and that has evolved over the last sort of couple of years. But I've always been more involved in homes. That's what sort of important to me. Like, we're in a massive shortage of those types of things, and we like creating amazing homes for people. we don't get involved in education, healthcare, industrial, commercial, office fit outs. That really isn't sort of what I set the business up to do. We are purely a residential architecture practice. That is to say that we've got a couple of property developer clients that have commercial assets that they maybe want to convert into residential, which we will absolutely do. And there's been the odd kind of shell and core type fit out for retail or office space that we've done along the way because it's part of a wider residential scheme. But to put things into perspective, at the moment, about 70% of our business is private residential clients.
Okay.
From £250,000 contract value up to £2 million contract value, that sort of range. And the remaining 30% of our business is property investors, property developers.
Okay.
Working on unit sizes from like single self-build type one-off homes all the way up to about 30 units in size, that sort of space. So we're talking sort of SME developments, often kind of constrained sites, commercial conversions to residential property, a few HMOs, so houses of multiple occupancy for investors that we work with. Because I haven't sort of mentioned, but Aura Architecture is one of my businesses. My other business is XP Property, which is a property development and investment business. So a lot of the work that we do with XP Property falls through into Aura's demise, and they are the ones designing for my development business. And one thing that gives our property developer clients from an Aura perspective is commerciality. I've always found it very, very frustrating working with architects in the past where they don't really understand the commercial aspects of developments. They want it to look amazing. And that's great. And there's absolutely a place for that, but it has to be buildable. It has to, be practical. And from a commercial aspect, ultimately a developer wants as much profit as possible on the bottom line. So having a team of my own architects, designers, interior designers that understand that and create stunning buildings and practical flats and apartments, but understanding that every line that they draw on the computer screen has a cost. That for me is incredibly important. And that's the added value I think we give to property developer clients, because not many architects truly understand that side of it.
Okay. Yeah. Which is interesting. And of course, having the two businesses run alongside each other and feed each other. So you say 70-30 in favor of how the split is at the moment. What would be your kind of ideal plan moving forward? Do you want to bring that more 50-50, or are you quite happy with how things are at the moment?
Yeah, we are actually moving more. What I'd like to get to is like a 50-50 split. I think that's a really good balance of, because what happens in cycles, at the moment over the last year, pennies have been tight, interest rates have soared. People can't get cheap access to money. So actually what we found in other practices, and why I feel like some practices have struggled and some have gone out of business, is that there isn't the private client work coming through as much as it used to be, because they're sitting on their hands waiting to understand where the interest rates are going and not spending the money that they would have done otherwise. So in those times, developers still have to feed the beast, feed the machine. So they're still actively looking for more commercial developments to work on. So having that balance of lumpier, bigger schemes, bigger property developments, bigger fees, effectively if you've got a £3 million development contract, and also those clients are repeat customers. It's not just going to be a one-off and off they go. We don't see them for 30 years until they move house. It's they've got a pipeline of 3-4 projects in their pipeline to review. So I feel like having that 50-50 blend of property developers versus private clients should be where we get to. And we're sort of actively looking to work with more property developer clients of that nature.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got the mechanisms clearly in place, haven't you, to make that happen? And things like this, this podcast is all about raising. That's why it's nice to talk to. It's refreshing, because you've got the drive and passion to want to shout from the rooftops about the work that you do, which in turn will promote you and hopefully bring you more work and move your business to more 50-50, which is what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, given what we do,
Mm.
it's all very visual and it
Yeah,
looks incredible. So,
yeah,
why wouldn't you share it around
yeah,
and share it as much as possible? And that is one of the reasons that we are investing a lot of time and money in our YouTube channel. So there's
yeah,
probably 10, 15 site tours on the channel at the moment. And
yeah,
every month, every other week, we're releasing more and more video tour content, whether that be at the end of projects where it's all sparkling and
yeah,
beautiful and lovely, or it's in the muck at the beginning of the project where it's this is what we're going to do with this
yeah.
project, this is how it's going to play out, we've got planning approval for this is what the client wants. All of that we're bringing to people in our YouTube channel.
People like that just as much as the finished article, because you can have people love a before and after, don't they? As
They
you say,
do.
architects are very visual. So anybody generally, like you say, I might look on Rightmove this afternoon, even though I'm not moving house. You just love to look and be
My
nosy, don't
wife's
you?
always on
And
Rightmove.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's exactly it's you're pandering to that audience, if you will, aren't you? It's brilliant.
That's it, and
Um,
we're only just getting to grips with sort of YouTube advertising, and we're testing things at the moment. But even
yeah,
with some small tweaks and a little bit of pay-per-click advertising put towards some of that YouTube stuff, we are seeing some really good traction from a leads and inquiries perspective through our website and through YouTube and other channels. So
yeah,
these are the types of things that I feel like us as an architecture practice go above and beyond to do. I think
yeah.
I was very, very quite forceful during lockdown to spend money on marketing, whereas most people were being really fearful and
Yeah,
holding back and making layoffs
absolutely.
and really
Yeah,
showing it. Where I was like,
yeah,
this is our chance to capture a little bit of market share and
yeah,
spend some money on pay-per-click advertising, make sure that our SEO on our website is as good as it can be, and really sort of prepping for as we come out of it. And our business did double sort of the year after out of COVID because of
yeah.
the extra work that we had through the door. And I think that comes from a more business mentality, more so than
I
I'm an
would say.
architect in front of my screen creating
Yeah,
amazing homes, and the business kind of happens behind me. And
yeah,
for me, that's really important because I want the business to grow, I want it to thrive and survive, and I
yeah.
want the team to do amazing things. So yeah.
Well, it is clearly happening. So all credit to you. And
Thank
like
you.
I say, the projects you've sent through so far that I've showcased so far look amazing. And I know you've got lots more in the pipeline to send. So
Yeah. So over the last year, we've heavily focused more on our interior design offering, and that is
yes,
something that we're going to continue to do.
yep,
To the point where I've spoken about our kind of split of clients in terms of like 70% 70% private clients, 30% property developers.
yep,
From a type of work perspective, where I really want to get to is like a 60 to 70% architecture, 20 to 30% interior design, and then
yep.
like a 10% ish sustainability passive house type
Okay,
offering. So yeah, over the last year we've really pushed our interior design offering. Beforehand it was kind of like, if the client wants it, we'll give it, sort of,
yeah,
that type of thing.
yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
now we are really, really focused on showing them our capabilities. Like we've created some stunning interiors over the last year.
yeah.
And some of those haven't even been associated with architectural work.
Okay,
So it's not just, we happen to be working, from an architectural perspective with a client, and then the client, we can sort of upsell the interior design package.
yeah,
It's, we found you on Instagram. We love what you do. We want to work with you from an interiors perspective. We've got a 2-bedroom flat in Vauxhall.
yeah,
We want to go to town on the interiors, and we want to spend 120 grand on just the interior work. And those projects we're now winning because of the track record that we're building, and the lovely photos and the imagery and the stuff that we've completed for other clients. So yeah, the interior design offering is we've got some really talented interior designers within the team,
yeah,
and I love kind of letting them go off and create amazing homes for their clients. And the one thing I would say about what we do differently, and we've had this comment a lot recently, which is, it fills me with joy really, because when I set up the business, I never wanted us to or my team or my architects to impress their style upon the clients. Ultimately the clients are the ones spending the money.
yeah,
We will help guide, and we will absolutely use our skill set and understanding and knowledge to kind of guide that process. But when you look at our photos on our website and the types of projects that we work on, a lot of clients have said recently that they love the fact that it's not just a sleek Scandi box, where there's no personality or no character.
Yeah.
Some of our clients absolutely have that, and that's because that's what the client wants.
Yeah.
Whereas we are there to help guide and almost tease out from our clients how do they live in the space? How do they want to use it? What's their style? How do they want it to look? And we then adapt and mold to that, rather than going into it saying, well, this is our style. This is the type of architecture that we create. Yeah. You must do this. It really is an eclectic kind of array of different types of projects on our website. And I really like that. And it seems to be sort of going down really well with future clients.
Well, we will link every project you've sent. I must admit, at the moment, we haven't in Architecture Vogue haven't featured any of your interiors work, but I will make a note to do that continuously every moving forward now, because if that's an offering you want to push, then yes, more people need to know about it.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. There's lots of exciting projects coming through, which over the next year we're almost sort of getting to that crux time of being finished on site and getting those professional photos done. And like I say, it was a shame the one in Putney we couldn't show, but the team have some amazing projects coming through.
Brilliant. Well, Ben, we'll draw it to a close there. Again, thank you very much for telling our audience about who you are and the work that you do. It sounds fantastic, and there's only more big things to come by the signs of it. So we look forward to all following your journey. And I will end by thanking you, Ben, for joining us on our podcast today and providing some brilliant content to our audience.
Thank you.